What's up, YouTube? Long time no see. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to talk about the situation that has been developing very recently involving Monique doing an interview on Shannon Sharpe's podcast. And there's so much to talk about from that interview, but in this particular video, I'm going to concentrate on two topics. The first topic is Monique disparaging Gayle King in her stand-up comedy routine, and also Monique's son, her very first son, speaking out in reference to Monique's interview on Club Shay Shay, at least the part that he was mentioned in. So first, I want to start with Monique and Gayle King. So I'm pretty sure you all know, but just in case you don't know, Gayle King is a journalist and also a very good friend, if not best friend, of Oprah Winfrey. And of course, you guys probably know that Monique and Oprah are not on good terms with each other. And Monique, she is now a part of Cat Williams' tour called Dark Matter. Interesting name for a tour. But Monique is on tour, and she did her stand-up comedy routine very recently on tour. And of course, she mentioned Oprah Winfrey in that comedy routine, as well as some other people. But she also mentioned Gayle King, and she said some very disparaging things about Gayle King that, based on what I'm privy to, it doesn't seem like it's called for, and it seems really disrespectful, and also it seems mean-spirited. And I bring this up because, Monique is very quick to say, when someone does something that is considered to be, weird or mean-spirited or disparaging, it's, how does this uplift the community? But let me explain a bit more about this. So Monique was doing a stand-up comedy routine. And in the stand-up comedy routine, that she did on Cat Williams' tour, she spoke about, of course, Oprah Winfrey and said some jokes about her, and really more so just said some very, disparaging things because Monique feels wronged by Oprah and feels like Oprah owes her a public apology. And Monique, she ain't going to take her foot off of Oprah's neck until she gets that apology. And I want you to remember what I said, because I'm going to go back to that a little bit later in this video to drive home and prove a point. So, she was calling Oprah all kinds of B's and, H's and S's and, all kind of very disparaging terms, right? Of course, she's, she has a grievance with Oprah. She got beef with Oprah. But she brought in Gayle King. She brought Gayle King into it, though, which I do feel like you kind of should just keep it at Oprah Winfrey, since she's the one who wronged you. As far as I know, Gayle King doesn't have anything to do with that situation with Monique and Oprah Winfrey. And Monique brought up Gayle King saying, "You don't want a best friend like Gayle King. That B never goes home. B, go home." That's part of, so she's saying that. Then she brought up Snoop Dogg and what he had to say about Gayle King when she was interviewing Lisa Leslie and asked Lisa Leslie about Kobe Bryant and his, SA allegation. This is YouTube. I got to censor myself. And, Snoop Dogg called her, a dog head B. And I think she brought up that situation strategically so that people would be less willing to come to Gayle King's defense. Even though that situation happened a few years ago, but then again, this is Monique. She's harping on things that happened in 2009. Unfortunately, she seems to be perpetually stuck in 2009. And I understand her when it comes to, well, I wasn't being paid to promote this film, and I've already done all that I'm contractually obligated to do. Definitely understand that. However, in hindsight, though, Monique has harped on and given free promotion to Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels, Oprah Winfrey for years. And she has talked about that situation with Precious, the film, for years, to the point where it's like, well, if you were going to talk about this film that much, you might as well have just did the free promo in Cannes and just took the free week's vacation that they were offering you. And you would probably be in a much better position career-wise. and not continuously having to bring up things that happened in 2009 in order to be relevant so that you can pop off on social media in the blogs for a week and get added to Cat Williams' spiteful tour. But that's another story for another video. But back to Monique and her talking about Gayle. So Monique got on the stage and she said some jokes about Gayle King, and she was saying that B, go home. You don't want a best friend like Gayle. B, go home. That B never goes home. Then again, she brought up Snoop Dogg, saying he called her a dog-faced B, and said something about her smelling. And then Monique was like, oh, Snoop Dogg has been in the vicinity of Gayle King. Then she goes on to say how Gayle King smelled, and the scent, the smell was so strong that she thought it was herself. And then she was, like, is this me? Like, dang, I know I showered. I know I bathed. And I'm like, dang, Monique, you probably shouldn't have said that, because while I think people, the general public probably may let you get away with it, at least at this moment, because, a lot of black people don't like Gayle King and Oprah Winfrey. So, they'll be hyping you up for, to go after and tear down, another black woman, a couple of black women. They'll hype you up for that. And this is black people. But notice she didn't talk about and criticize Gayle King for asking Megan Thee Stallion a very invasive question involving her sex life. Well, yeah, that's different. That's different. And perhaps there are some differences, but still, I just need to make a note of that. And honestly, I do like Monique, but if I was a celebrity, it would just be high and by when it comes to Monique. I wouldn't be really quick to try and strike up a friendship with Monique or do any sort of business deals with Monique. And I know somebody's going to come through and be like, well, it's just comedy. It's just jokes. It ain't that serious. And the thing is, didn't Monique have an issue with D.L. Hughley? Really not even him, his co-host, when he wasn't there, asking her some very disrespectful question, which I agree with, by the way. But that was comedy too. That was just a joke too. And by the way, didn't D.L. Hughley pull the segment? Like, it never aired based on what he said, unless he's mistaken, unless it did air. But I don't even think it aired, though. And we wouldn't have even known about this unless you didn't say anything. Like, if she had not said anything, we wouldn't know about that situation. So, long story short, I really don't think she should be making jokes about Gayle King. Oprah is the person that you have problems with. Keep your anger on Oprah Winfrey. Keep your foot on Oprah Winfrey's neck. Now, I want to talk about the situation with Monique's son, her first son. So, Monique's first son, when the interview with Shannon Sharpe, made its way around social media, he got on social media and responded, particularly about the part that involved him. And he said, basically, he and his mother are in a space where it's kind of like neither one really wants to put forth the effort to mend the relationship at this point. And I know on the podcast with Shannon Sharpe, Monique had mentioned, I did my part. Now I'm just putting it in the universe. Something to that effect. And I find that really interesting that she takes that approach to the relationship with her son, which, by the way, she has the right to do. She does. I'm not saying that she doesn't, but I do want to make a point, though. She seems to be very, just, I've done my part. I've done all I can do, and I'm just going to, let it play out. I'm not going to be harping on this, etc. Right? But when it comes to these, industry relationships that she has with people that, she did not birth, and people that were not her friend, outside of perhaps Lee Daniels, she doesn't seem to take that approach. It's like the approach that she takes with it is much more aggressive. It's like, I'm going to make you give me a public apology. And she has been speaking about Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels, Oprah Winfrey off and on for years in an attempt to make them give her a public apology. And ultimately, she has the right to do that. Even though At this point, me personally, I kind of think she should just move forward. But my issue is she doesn't seem to take that approach when it comes to the relationship with her first son. It's like, well, I did what I can do. That's it. It's up to you now. And I'm thinking, well, where's that same energy, that same aggression when it comes to mending this relationship with her son? And I kind of personally just feel like she just is at a space where it's like, hey, I can take it or leave it. But when it comes to, the people that she mentioned in the podcast, especially Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry, she's not in a space like that. She's like, no, I'm going to make you give me a public apology. And Monique has the right to demand a public apology. And, Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey have the right to deny it. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that she's not owed that. But at the end of the day, that's their choice. And also, if you have to force someone's hand, then I don't think the apology holds much weight. And Monique seems to sort of present herself as this beacon of morality. And perhaps she's not intentionally trying to do that. But on the other hand, I do think that it is at least some intention of hers to present herself that way. And also, Monique, she ended up responding. Well, technically, it's more so Monique and Sydney, but more so Sydney responding to Monique's first son in the video that he posted on social media. And I really feel like that probably should just be between Monique and her son, Shalon, not with Monique, her son, Shalon, and Sydney. Really, I think they probably need to just take this off of social media and handle this behind the scenes and perhaps get into some sort of family counseling or family therapy, perhaps, without Sydney, at least initially without Sydney. Perhaps later, as the therapy sessions go on, you can add Sydney into the mix when he is relevant to the particular situation that is being discussed. And then I think Monique ended up publishing on social media, like Instagram, some text messages between her and her son, Shalon. Again, this is why I say if I was in the industry, I probably would not be friends with Monique or seek a friendship with Monique. And this is one of the reasons why. Oh yeah, and by the way, she did something like this with Tyler Perry as well. And the thing is, when it comes to Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry and Monique and, the things she has to say about them, as much as Monique has disparaging things to say about them, which could be true and which may be true even, at the end of the day, I don't think it has really affected Oprah Winfrey or Tyler Perry's bag. Not that much. If anything, I think it has actually affected more so Monique's bag, Monique's bank account. And, Monique got kicked out of the club and she wants to get back into the club. Don't get it twisted. This is what this really is about. It's not about some, the wicked powers that be. We got to fight the power. Oh, they're trying to do me like they did Claudette Colvin. They'll throw in a little bit of, black stuff into the mix because they know that's a trigger for black people. Let's be real. And they know that black people can relate to that. But let's be real, though. Income inequality. Can black people relate to that? Of course. But the thing is, this so-called fight for income equality for black people, why is it starting at the very top, or at least more so the higher part of the income bracket? Shouldn't this fight be starting at the lower rung of the bracket, the income bracket? Like, we trying to get millionaires more money, basically, versus trying to get more money for regular people who work 9-to-5 jobs who probably make, somewhere between, $40,000 and $65,000 a year or something like that, or less. And then Monique, apparently she settled her situation with Netflix, and that's great. That's wonderful. But she was alleging that Netflix discriminated against her based on gender and race, though. And I'm just thinking, well, has that discrimination stopped from Netflix? Because she seemed, maybe I'm reaching with this, but it just seemed like the way she was speaking about Netflix as if Netflix was discriminating against, black women on a much wider scale And I have seen bits and pieces of that Netflix special that she had. She had a comedy special on Netflix, which I didn't even know about until after the fact, because I'm not even sure if Monique really promoted that special all that much. I could be wrong. Maybe I just missed the promotion, but I'm not sure if I remember really hearing about that. But she had a Netflix special. I've seen some bits and pieces and also some reviews by regular people on YouTube, and it wasn't anything that people were going crazy over. Like no one was talking about, oh, I saw that Monique stand-up special, that stand-up comedy special with Monique. I couldn't stop laughing. I was about to have a heart attack. Nuh-uh. And based on what I've seen, I think that it probably should have been marketed differently, and it should not have been marketed as a stand-up comedy special. It probably should have been more so marketed as an evening with Monique, and she's just telling you some stories. That may have a bit of comedy here and there in it, perhaps. And also notice that, Shannon Sharpe in that interview, he didn't say he saw Monique's comedy special. He didn't say, oh, Mo, you had me dying. He didn't say that. He just asked her, hey, are you interested in doing another comedy special? Which I don't even know why he asked that. And as far as I know, we don't know how much Monique got paid for that comedy special, which I think is a bit interesting because, again, this was a fight about gender and racial inequality and unequal pay. But, she kept that part to herself, which she has her right to, but I just find that to be interesting as well. But I'll say this, in the comedy special with Netflix, Monique did not talk about Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels, or Oprah Winfrey, which is good, which is good. However, I feel like she probably would have gotten a bit more laughs if she did that, which brings me to my next point that I want to make is that I think Monique, she really needs to be careful with, honestly, I think she's at the point where people at this point probably only care about her when she talks about Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry and other celebrities, just talking smack about other celebrities. People don't really want to hear about her comedy special or her upcoming projects or, some product that she's promoting or anything like that. They just want to, some tea. They just want Monique to slang some scolding hot tea that really is pretty stale. It's like this tea, quote unquote, is like really stale. It's from over a decade ago. And also at her most recent stand-up comedy performance on Cat Williams' tour, she was talking about, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, that. But, right now it's kind of hot. It's kind of like, the flavor of the week. But I'm not sure if people are going to want to hear about that come, say, a month later. Then she has to go into her bag of comedy jokes, which I don't think at this point, I don't know. I don't think that her comedy jokes are really hitting like they used to. I mean, I guess maybe she can go back to the skinny bee routine, but I think that's kind of played out though. And y'all notice Monique don't do that routine no more. Not since she lost weight, right? When she dropped the weight, she dropped the skinny bee routine. Interesting. But based on the Netflix special, I'm not sure if, Monique's comedy special can really hit without speaking about, her beefs. But, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I may end up coming back and speaking on more topics that came up during that interview between Shannon Sharpe and Monique. Is it an interview or a conversation? What do you guys think about that? But I just wanted to come through and just give my thoughts about this situation that's, developing between her son and Monique, between Monique and her son, and of course also the situation with Gayle King about, Monique saying some disparaging jokes about Gayle King. But please let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. And to the next video. Adios and goodbye for now.